Hello and welcome to this place on the internet where I talk about the things I make, mostly knitting, and I am here to share with you the things I have been working on. It's been quite a while that I recorded. I think I forgot to say my name, by the way. My name is Irma and you can find me on YouTube, Ravelry, Instagram as Wolwerkjes. So I used to record videos more often than I did the past few months. Lots of reasons for that. If you want to know, you can ask me, but yeah, there are a lot of little things that made recording a little bit more difficult. Now it's way too hot to record, but I really wanted to show some stuff I made, mostly because my pile of finished things that I haven't shown is growing and growing. I'm not gonna show everything. I don't even remember what I showed last time, but there are a few things that I would like to show you. So first things first, I always start with what I am wearing, and I will pop up a little bit. I am wearing this top I made. It's short, so it ends over here, and I think it's a Jessie May pattern. I will put the name of the pattern always in the description box. Sometimes when I feel fancy, I'll put it on the screen. But I think it's too hot for that today, so I don't think I will do that. But I will always put it in the description box below. It's ripped, so I will pop up again. So it's ripped. I think is it 3x3 or 2x3? I think it's 3x3 rip. And it has some nice detail where the decreases are for the top. And what I did different than the pattern is I put beads in there. You see? I put beads all over it in the front lying part of the rib pattern. And I think that's very fun and it gives it a little sparkle, and yeah, it was very nice to do that as well. So you have multiple ways of putting beads in your knitting. And the method I used over here is that I put the beads on the stitch individually. So like there's also a method that you string all the beads on your yarn and then you start knitting, and once you want a bead you pop that bead, you slide it over into the stitch you're gonna knit, and that's the way the beads show up in your fabric. But this is a single yarn and I held it double, so it makes it a little bit, it was lace weight, so it made it a little bit thicker. And yeah, I wasn't sure like if I would have put the beads on the yarn up front. I was a little bit afraid that it will damage the yarn. So that's why I put them with a crochet hook on the stitch before I knit that stitch. I will show that maybe one time. You can look it up yourself. It's not that difficult. And it's quite fun to do. The only thing is that you have to have a crochet hook next to your knitting spot, and that you yeah, need to be a little bit more fiddly with the knitting. But it's really fun to do. It's yarn that I had lying in my yarn stash the longest, I think. Like, I think this was my first hand-dyed yarn that I bought. I don't remember the brand, I don't remember where I got it. I only know that I had several projects that I wanted to make out of it and that none of them really seemed to work. So at last I was just like, I already picked beads with this color, and I was like, I'm just gonna make something. And I wanted to knit another of these tops. I have one I knitted a few years back in a kind of gold color, And I think I want to make even more. This is wool, but it's like, because it's so small part of your body, it's not bothering me in the heat. But I think it would be nice to have a linen or a cotton one, and maybe one that is a little bit longer. So I think I will make a few of these, but maybe not this summer. They're very nice. They're once came projects really, so they're very nice to, like, if you have 100 grams. So if you have 100 grams of fingering weight yarn, with cotton you have to be a little bit more careful, because cotton can be a little bit more heavier, so maybe you will need a little bit more to get the same yardage or meterage. But yeah, it's basically a once came project, so that's very nice. Like, those are nice projects for in between if you don't want to know what you want to knit. And you don't want to knit socks, or you don't want to knit a head. I think those are perfect. So, of course, if you lengthen it, you will need more, but I think I have the leftover here. This is my leftover, and I think I can make another one out of this. I think this is even more than half of the skein left over, so I can make something else. But like, I can lengthen this quite a lot before I run out of yarn, so that's very nice. And because it's a rib pattern, it stretches a lot, and it makes, like, you need to do some decreases at the top, but you don't need to shape anything. It will just hug your body because of the fabric you knitted, like because of the rib. So that's very, very nice. So I have two finished objects to show you. And this was a new cast on. I think I haven't shown this on the podcast before. No, because I started it a few months back, I think. And I will see if I can show you. It's a short cardigan with balloon sleeves, and I held two yarns together, and I took some of my leftovers or some of the colors I have an extra skein of, and I knit this. And this was my comfort knitting for a while. It's very nice and very cozy. It's the Le Pouf cardigan from Hedgehog Fibers. It's a free pattern on their website, so if you want it, you can get it there. The only issue I have with it, and I think I could have known when I cast it on, but the way they start the front over here, I think they should have done something different to make it more on your shoulders, because now it slides off very easily. And it's okay, and I most of the time just put a clip on it, and then it's fine. You can make buttonholes, and that's not in the pattern, but you can make buttonholes to close it up, like that could be a thing. But I wore it quite a lot. It's a nice thing to just, I will put it off now, it's so hot. It's a very nice little cardigan that's easy to just throw on. So I'm very happy with that. I'm not sure if I want to make it again. I really like it. I think maybe more people should make it, because it's very fun and nice to do. But I think I want a little bit more, I don't know how to explain, but the way they start the front is like with no stitches, and they start increasing from the raglan construction. So I think if they did it a little bit different, that you already had a few stitches before you start increasing, then it would be a little bit more stable on your shoulders. But I don't know if that's even possible. Of course, everything is possible, but that would make it a lot more difficult, and it's a free pattern. So you don't hear me complain. It's a nice pattern, it was fun to do, and I think if you have like, the contrast between my yarns was quite high, so you can see the stripes, but if you take like variegated yarns that are close in color but different, then you can get very nice gradients in those kind of things where they marl the yarn. So that's very nice. I have another finished object and I'm very pleased that it's done, because it's my second sample of my chevron shape shawl. I was thinking if I had the name of my own pattern right, but I think I have. So this one is a rainbow, so it starts in a little point and you start the pattern with some increases and decreases to get the chevron shape, and if you do that in the right sequence, then you get like this shape of shawl, and I love wearing these. This one is a little bit longer than the other one I had. It's very nice to just put over your shoulders, but what I like to do is like put this a little bit higher and tie it down. Never be afraid to tie your knitted shawls. I know some people are like, oh, now they are just draping them around, but it's just a piece of fabric. It won't break if you put a knot in there. So this is the way I mostly wear those shawls, and yeah, I'm very happy with it. I still need to make the pictures, and I think the weather is nice for that, so if I have a little bit of time before my kids come out of school, I might do that. I have irritation in my... I always record without glasses. Okay, now I can't see a thing. I always record without glasses because I find it very annoying to have light in my glasses on the screen and stuff like that. But we will just keep going, because otherwise I always have trouble with seeing if things are in focus or not. So it's better to keep them on, but yeah, it's also annoying me. So we will see how I will keep going. If I maybe put them back off again, I don't know. So yeah, so this is my rainbow version of the chevron shape, and I'm going to make a little update on the pattern page, because I think I stated there that you need a little bit more than one skein to get the length I had with the previous one. But these are the rainbow color is hand spun, so it's always hard to know exactly how many meters are in there if you don't write it down right away. But the light color, I do know how many meters I had, and it was exactly one skein. I had a little bit left over, but that can't have a name. So one skein. So if I had two skeins of just that yarn, then I would have made this size. So it's basically a 2 skein shawl. And I will update that in the notes on the pattern page and in the pattern, of course. But in the pattern I'm already talking about that you can adapt the length and the amount of yarn you want to knit. And the nice thing about going for 2 skeins and just make it as long as the yarn will allow you. And of course gauge matters and the way the yarn stretches matters, but yeah, I think it's very nice. This yarn, the rainbow yarn, I spun myself. I said I think it's 2 years back that I spun that skein. I made it like, let me see if I can figure it out. So I had all these colors, all these rainbow colors, and what I did is I divided the fiber like half-half. So every color I split in half, and one of those halves I just spun in a rainbow, you know what I mean. So from red to orange to yellow to green and so on and so on. So that was one big rainbow, starting in red, ending in purple. And the other half I split each color in 3, and then I spun 3 rainbows after one another. So, and those 2 yarns I plied together. So I have one long rainbow going through the whole skein and little rainbows going in between them. And you can see here that there is a little bit of red and orange next to the greens and blues, and like there is purple here in the red. But because you have that main rainbow going from one side to the other, you still have that main feeling of that big rainbow. And I love making yarns like that. I had made the other chevron shawl I made. I did it in the same way, but with more muted colors, which was also very nice. But I love making yarn like that. It's so fun to spin and it's so fun to use. I really love using those color changing yarns. Of course, if you don't spin yourself or you find hand spun way too expensive, which is not the case because hand spun takes a lot of time. So if you buy it from someone, of course it's pricey. But you also have commercial yarns that give the same feel. And I think here in Europe the best example is Schoppenwolle Zauberball. And you have Crazy Zauberball and you have different kinds, but all of them are nice and you just pick one that suits you, your taste the most. Yeah, but it's really fun to have a color changing yarn in this shawl. So that will be on Instagram quite soon and also on my project page. So yeah. So 2 finished objects. Oh, I have another finished object, but it's not knitting. So let me first take some things out because I used it. I made a crocheted bag and I will show you first closed. Look at that. It's quite big. My head can fit in there, like it's sizable. I think it will be, I think A4 will fit in here. And it has a nice clasp here up front, so this can open. And I lined it, so yesterday was time at my sewing machine to make the lining. And the thing is, and I don't know if you can see on camera, maybe a little, but this is a little bit see-through. So the lining is not just the lining, but it's like double lined to make the peek through the fabric also nice. So basically I sewed a bag into a bag. So yeah, and it's quite spacey. I made this one before. It's a pattern from Crochet Crush from Lena Lane, depends on which pronunciation if you want the English or the French. I made one before, but I need to fix this because this came loose and that happened a few times already. So you can see that the yarn is starting to break here. I use this a lot. And this is how it's in the pattern book with the 2 colors. And I really liked it. And I made a head out of this raffia yarn. And I miscalculated and I thought I would like to make more, like for my children and for myself and maybe a different style as well. But I didn't like crocheting the hats. It hurt my hands. And this is a way looser gauge. So this was fine. But I was like, well, I like a bag out of that raffia. So yeah, I made one. The only thing is that this ring, it really needs to be through both. Battery change. Let me see, where was I? Oh yeah. So this ring here needs to go through both the front and the back side. Like, I don't know if I can show that. Let me see. So you have this side panel and the ring on top goes through the outer corners of this side panel to make it fold over, which is very nice. And it really needs to be there because of the weight distribution. You know what I mean? It's hot. I don't want to try again. So it really needs to be there because otherwise your bag will be out of balance. So, but the only thing that I don't like about the ring there is that it like this can't go out further, so it limits the space in your bag a bit, but it's big enough, so there can be a lot of stuff in there. I'm tangling this all up with something else. Let's see. So what I want to do is I want to weave a band for this to yeah, as a strap. But that takes time and I already want to use it. So I took some of the raffia yarn and I put a braid in it and I can use it now. This won't last, I think it's sturdier than I thought it would be. But I think this won't last like forever. But for now it's fine until I have my very own woven nice band. So for now this is fine, but I think I will change out the band. And I put a little, I was looking for my clasp and my rings and I found this one within all my stuff for bags and closures and things like that. And I was like, oh, this will fit nice on this bag, so on the side. So maybe it was going to bother me and then I would take it off. But this came from another bag that broke, so I'm just reusing that. So nice new bag. I really need a new bag because my bold bag, like I got it as a present and it's like very old. I think it's maybe 10 years old or something. It's starting to wear off, so I need a new bag and I have a new bag now. So that's very, very nice. I need to fix my small one soon. I hope I can fix it. Maybe I need to put a little fabric on top to sturdy it or something, because it's, yeah, the yarn is getting broken. But I really like the size of this one, so we will see if that happens. Let's see, I have way more stuff to show you. This is dangerous. Let's see, where is the cap? Where is the cap? Okay. Let's see. More knitting or something else? Well, we were talking about spinning, so I will first go further with some spinning. Let's see. I had a braid of sock fiber that I dyed myself, and I dyed it not really a gradient, but kind of from lighter to darker in pinks and yellows and oranges. This is the last piece of it. I split it in 3 and I first spun the first third just back to back, and I did the same with the second third, and I don't know with the lighting if you can see it, but this one is a little bit darker than this one, and this is darker spots, even more darker spots inside of this. And I'm now spinning the last third, and you can see that's way more vibrant. Get away with my head to make it focus. This is way more vibrant than the first two. And I will ply those 3 together to get a 3-ply, and I will knit myself some socks out of it. And I have never spun to knit socks out of, so that will be the first time. It's a sock blend, so I know a lot of people that spin do like a very tight ply just out of wool because they don't want the nylon. I normally like natural fibers. I rarely knit with anything else except for socks, because I know the way I wear my socks, they won't last that long if there's no nylon in it. So yeah, I need a little bit. So that's what I am spinning on at the moment, and I'm spinning it, as you can see, on my drop spindle, and I've really fallen in love with it again. So yeah, I think there will be more projects on spindles. Of course, I will still use my spinning wheel as well, but this is I have this in the kitchen. And between things I'm doing there, like when I'm cooking or looking after things, then I just spin it a bit. And it's also good for my physique to be standing up a little bit more. So yeah, that's a fun thing to do. And I can't wait to see what the yarn is going to look like. The only issue is that I only have one of the spindles, and I forgot the weight of the spindle. This is an Ashford spindle. It's not a student one, but the other one. And they have different weights of these spindles. And that's because different weight of spindle gives you a different kind of yarn, or a different, yeah. Basically, it has to do with the weight and the amount of spin it has, the amount of twist you get in your yarn. So I wanted to do all the yarn on the same spindle. So every time the spindle is full, I have to wind it off onto a chopstick to make the spindle empty again. But this is the last one. So I hope I can leave this on and ply from this, and I will do the plying on another spindle, a bigger one, because this one is too small to hold that amount of yarn, and I don't want to cut it if I can prevent it. So that's what I'm spinning on. Let's see, where do I put this? Oh, I think you can kind of envision it, but it's like a mess around me. There are all kind of stuff, things I gathered to show you, things that were here to clear out of the way but are thrown off this bench to like they were neatly put on this bench to put away, and I took everything off so I can sit here. So it's a mess around here. Let's see, I have also a little bit spinning related. I made this. And it looks like nothing, it's not very fancy, but I bought these at the DIY store. They're already rounded, so I don't have to make them round by myself, because that's really impossible without a wood turning machine. But what I did, I used my craft knife, and I know people will say, oh, it won't blunt your craft knife, then I will get a new craft knife, but it's worked very well. It's still very sharp. So I used my craft knife to get a point in this stick on both sides, and I had a doorknob with a hole in it, so you can screw it on your door. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use it as a whirl. So I made my own support spindle. And I really want I really want to try that for a long time. But I understand, but the ones you can buy are quite expensive, and I can't really find anyone in the Netherlands that's doing it. Maybe I didn't look good, but I find like $85 or something. I don't even know if I'm gonna like. I found it a lot. So I'm going to try this. It spins very neatly and consistent, so that's the main thing, I think. And the reason it has to have a point on this side as well is because you don't use a hook with support spindling, from what I saw of it. So we will see if that is going to work, and if it works, I can make more of those sticks, and then I can just take the whirl off, put this aside, put a new stick in my whirl, and I don't have to deal with the problem I had with the drop spindle. The only thing is that from what I found on support spindling is that a worsted, no, it's a woolen way of spinning, and that's different than the way I spin on the drop spindle. That's more like a worsted. So not in weight, but in the way the fibers are prepared and the way you draft the fiber when you're spinning. So we will see if I enjoy this or not, but I was very proud of myself that I made this. So I think that's the last thing on spinning, and also I have one other craft, but I will first show you some knitting. I am not knitting on 2 pairs of socks that were on the needles for ages now. So they're not new, but I'm working on them again, and that's very nice. This is a spiral knit sock, so it's with 2 colors. I don't know if you can see that. It's dark gray, just like the toe, and a variegated yarn. And every time I forget if it is a long yarns or if it is Lana Grossa. I will put it in the description box below. It's a very nice yarn. It's color changing, it's barber pulling in places, it's very fun. And what I'm doing is I'm making stockings as long as I can get them. There's an afterthought heel in there, and I'm almost at the point that I need to cut the yarn and start the second one, because I want to also do like I also want to do the cuff in the gray, so I have to stop like soon enough so that I have enough to make the ribbing on this one and also have enough left for the second sock. So I'm weighing this skein every time I finished a few rows, and I think when it's like 60 grams I will knit 10 grams of the gray for the cuff, and that just have to be enough for the cuff. And I think I'm going to do a folded over cuff, so stockinette on the outside and ribbing on the inside. And I also want to do that so that I may be able to put some elastic in there if it's not snug enough around my leg, so that I don't slide down. But the inside can be in the multicolored yarn. That doesn't have to be the gray. So I think 10 grams should be enough to make a nice little border on here. I'm doing increases at the back every 6th row, I say by heart. 6th or 8th. I think 8. Every 8th row I do 2 increases, and it gives enough for my cuff to be in there, but it's not creating like a very obvious line of increasing. So that's very nice. And this is my car knitting at the moment. So not that I'm knitting while I'm driving the car, but like when I'm waiting at school or going to the dentist or stuff like that, then this goes with me and I knit a little bit on this. So it's way too warm to think about long socks, but socks are nice projects for warmer weather because you're not covered in wool all over. So that's very nice. And in the meanwhile, I'm looking for another project. Yeah, my other sock I'm working on. I really want to start new socks. I have a few. There was like an emergency wind on of a skein, if you can say it like that. My cat grabbed a ball of yarn, so I really needed to cake that up because it was such a mess, and I was afraid that it would tangle more than if I would leave it. So I scanned it up, and when I was doing that, I was like, I really want to work with this yarn, but I also knew that I had a few socks lying around, so I first need to finish those before I can start a new one. And I also have the spinning I'm doing for a pair of socks. So first the other two have this one and my car knitting need to get off the needle before I can start on new socks. And this is the other one that was languishing in a bag somewhere. This is the Contrast Blast socks by Stephen West. It was the sock knit along, the first one he did last summer, and the announcement came for the new one, and I think I would really like the new one because he says there's something different in the construction as well, and I like it when things are a little bit different. So I was like, yeah, but I didn't even finish the ones from last year. So I'm starting on those again. I have casted on this project so many times. The first time, I don't know how, but it was when the pattern came out. You got a little piece of the pattern each week for 4 weeks. And the first so when I knit the first sock, I put them on spare needles and used the same needles to start the second sock. And that one was the same needles. It was knit in the same week. It was knit with the same yarn. It was the same amount of stitches, but it just was bigger than the other one. And I know myself that will bother me when I'm wearing them. So I think I was around like over here. So I did quite a lot of knitting on the second sock. So I had 2 socks this high and I was like, I'm not gonna like this. So I ripped them back and I started over, and I was like, well, I will just knit 1 sock then. And I will knit the second one when the first one is finished. So I knit that sock past the heel into the foot, and then I noticed that I made a mistake again. 2 mistakes. I made one mistake that was just my stupidity of not reading the pattern right. I ended this section in the wrong color, so the transitions to the foot was wrong. I could have fixed that quite easily, but the other thing was that my sock was too small. And how that happened is that I cast on 72 stitches for a pair of socks for myself, and I knit in a very tight gauge. So the first time I started the socks, I didn't listen to myself, and I used the 2.5 needles Stephen West recommended. But I didn't like that gauge, so once I ripped back because the size different, like one was bigger than the other, I ripped back and I was like, well, I'm going to listen to myself. I'm going to the 2mm needles because I like that more. So I went to the 2mm needles on 72 stitches. But this yarn, it's Jabol, which is a very nice sock yarn, but it's a little bit thinner than the other yarns. So I'm even knitting on a smaller needle now. So, but that means that my gauge was a little bit smaller than the one that it should be, which is fine. The only thing is that 72 stitches, and like this has slipped stitches and is not as stretchy as you would like in a sock. Like this part is quite stretchy, but this part is quite stiff. So I just couldn't fit it over my feet. So I had to rip out that sock again. And I started it again, but then the knit along was already done and it was end of summer and I was just done with it. I started them 3 or 4 times over, and I have the dark yarn, which is very, very nice, but there is like a cable on top here and I just couldn't see what I was doing and I messed it up every time as well. It's fine now, but I was just done with it. So it was laying in its bag like this. So I took it out a few days back and I knitted the second portion, and I really like the pattern. There's nothing wrong with it, but it was just my frustration of starting over and over and over again, just because I didn't make a gauge swatch and I didn't read the pattern right. So all my fault, but yeah, that was a thing. So now I'm going to do the heel flap, I think. And it's going quite fun. And it's really fun, like when you have your knitting under your nose. It always looks so different than when you look it from a distance. And especially on the screen like this. It always looks different, and it looks so fun on the screen at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy these. These socks give me Wednesday Adam vibes, and I really want to rewatch that series. I really liked it. So maybe I will do that while I knit on those. That would be nice. So yeah, second pair of socks. Those are the only 2 things I'm actively knitting on. Once those 2 are done, I want to finish these. I'm knitting a pair of gloves and I'm enjoying that very much. The only thing is that I messed up those 2 fingers. Those have too much, this finger has too many stitches and this has too few, so I have to rip those out and redistribute the stitches for those 2 fingers. And then I have to knit the fingers and the thumb on this one. But they're a little bit fiddly in the beginning. Yeah, I'm used to double pointed needles, so I don't think it's super fiddly. But like you're working in a small circumference, which can be a little bit, yeah, a little bit different than working on a big circumference. But those fingers go so quickly. And the thumb as well. Oh, I also need to reknit this thumb because I decreased too much, so it's too tight on the top. But it's also quite easy fix. But yeah, it's fitting. I'm not going to put them on now. It's way too much to ask that now. But yeah, it's coming along very nicely, and I really like it. This is a sock yarn. I don't have the label here. I think it's a Regia yarn, and I really like the colors, and I will have leftovers and I think I will make little socks out of them. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, it's very nice. This is 1.75mm needles. That's the other one didn't have a number on it, but that's how the same, like, I like gloves and socks in a tight gauge. I just like that. That's just a personal preference, but I really, really like the colors in this skein. They're so fun. So that's the other thing that needs to be finished, in my opinion. Then they're ready for autumn after the summer, and I am thinking about a new cast on. and it's going to be a how do you say that, a top, a sleeveless top. I don't know the English term by heart now, but yeah, it will be with a little bit wider. I will put maybe a photo, or I will put the name of the pattern I want to knit in the description box. Maybe I will put a photo on here as well. But it's like a little bit of wider strap with lace knitting in it, and it's going to the front, and then it will be just straight down. And I want to make it a little bit oversized, not too much, but a little bit oversized. And I want to make it in this yarn, which I have laying around. It's by Hobby. It's a bamboo, tencel bamboo, they say. It's a viscose yarn, so they use it's 40% tencel and 60% bamboo, and both tencel and bamboo are like fabric made from plant materials. So they use plant materials to make new fibers. So it's not like they take the bamboo and strip the fibers from that, like they do with banana fibers, or like they do with pineapple fibers. Those are also like, or linen. You can they use the fibers from the plants to make the yarn. But what they do with bamboo and stuff like that is that they cut it up and they do something with it, and then you get new fibers. So it's still a chemical process. It's not like natural fiber, but it's more breathable than like polyester or acrylic, and it's super soft. So I have 3 skeins of this, and there is 210 meters on each skein. So I think this will be more than enough to make the top, and I think it will be very nice to wear in the summer. Even though it's black, I think it's so soft, and it's very breathable. So I bought this for something else, but that didn't work, so I'm going to try to make the top out of it. And it's also a free pattern now, as I remember right, so extra nice. And I think that's all. Oh, I have one more project. Yeah, I have a lot. I said it's been a long time, and I shouldn't do that because then I have way too much to show. The last thing I want to show is a tatting project, and tatting, I will explain a little bit more on tatting later. But this is how far I'm at. This is going to be the back, and let me see if I can put it on. Let me see. So it will be like, this will be on my back, and then I will make like, this will get closed up, and then I will leave it open. So it will be like a little vest or something, little sleeveless cardigan out of lace, and I think it will be very cute. It's taking a long time, but I think it will be very cute. And what you do with tatting, there are 2 ways to tat. I only know one. Let me see. You use shuttles. And you have different kinds of shuttles. I have a few. Those are both from Clover, but I enjoy this one more than I do this one. Only this one I can't find in the Netherlands at the moment, or even in Europe. It's a pain in the butt to find these, but these are my all-time favorite for now. So, and I also have one with a hook in it, which I don't really enjoy. But yeah, you have different kinds of shuttles, and what you do with those shuttles is it's not doing anything. The shuttle is only to get the yarn on and to give your hands something to work the stitches with. And what you do is you have yarn between your fingers on one hand, like maybe wrapped around your pinky or in a loop. So you have yarn on this side, and what you're going to do this is not a tutorial. look on YouTube, you're on YouTube, look for a tutorial with close-ups and you will find it very easy. But what you're going to do is you're gonna make knots with the shuttle by going under it and through, or by going over it and through. And I was out of focus, but yeah, you're going to use the shuttle to make knots, and you basically have two types of knots and picots, and that's it. And you just make knots around the thread, and when you do that you can get very nice lacy patterns. And these are all the same, like it's kind of a snowflake. Those are all the same, and I just attach them as I go. And that's what's making a bigger lacy fabric. So this won't be done this summer. I think I can manage, if I have a lazy day, I can make 2, maybe 3. But like in an evening, I can just make 1, I think. So this will take a long time to get finished. My only, the only thing I'm a little bit afraid of is that you see like the old, it's the same yarn that was used to make the dollies on the table like long ago. Maybe people still do that, but in my memory it's something the mom of my grandma did. They had those dollies on the table, but when time goes by, those yarns tend to get discolored and get dirty, even though they're not dirty. And the only thing I'm afraid of is this will get dirty before I can even use it. So yeah, we will see, but it is a fun thing to be working on. And the nice thing is that it's just very small, and you can do it in any position. Like I was not able, I had a surgery to my ankle, and I was in a cast for six weeks. And in the beginning, I just couldn't find a comfortable position to do my knitting. But I could do this. So most of this is done while I was on the couch with my foot in a cast. With my ankle in a cast. But yeah, it's very portable. It's very easy on your body, I think. So that's, I think, the last project I want to show you. I've been talking way too long. Next time will be sooner, and then I will be less, like there will be less to show. But for now I'm done. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.